Another great episode of FemFlex Friday. We have a wonderful treat. World champions in the house. We have our current Miss Olympia, Andrea Shaw, 2 times Miss Olympia, 2 times Rising Phoenix champion. And we have our world champion, Helle Trevino, 2 times Rising Phoenix champion. Ladies, we got a lot to talk about, y'all. What are we talking about today?
And first of all, welcome to our studio virtually, and we hope to have you pretty soon here to sit on these couches with us.
Thank you.
Of course, we are extremely fortunate to have our top 2 female bodybuilders in the world with us today. And we wanted to touch on a topic, a painful topic, because it's an 8-year-old story now, right? Of the women's bodybuilding division still not being put back in the Arnold. This coincides with the fact that 2022 edition of Arnold has also seen the miss of women's physique division and 212 on top of everything, right? So we just wanted to, get your opinion on this, obviously nobody is happy about it, but especially us as, athletes that are involved in this division, right? So Andrea, how awesome would it have been for you if we had a women's bodybuilding division in the Arnold, and would you have competed?
It would have been amazing to have it, and I absolutely would have. I would have been there. I mean, without hesitation. I mean, for many years, the Miss International has always held its prestige. I mean, just as the Miss Olympia has, and to be able to have the opportunity to, compete at a show at that level. I mean, because when I started following bodybuilding, there were always 2 big shows: the Miss International and the Miss Olympia. So it's very disappointing, but it's seeming that, there are just some things in the works where athletes just aren't really celebrated as much as they used to be at the Arnold Classic. Because, I mean, it was always anticipated that all divisions were welcomed and all divisions were well represented. So, there's definitely been a shift in the culture at, the athlete lineup or, who can participate. So
I agree with you. Helle, have you ever competed in the Arnold?
Actually, I haven't. When I really came out and competed, the Arnold was discontinued. Very disappointing. I always wanted to do the show, and had the show been there, I would have been there. I was always a big fan of Arnold because I felt like we had something in common. We were both from Europe. We both took the chance to go to the States to make career and, hopefully be the best bodybuilder in the world. And Arnold has always been really the icon for pro bodybuilding and, an ambassador and inspiration and had a huge impact on bodybuilding. But when I see bodybuilding, it's not a gender-specific thing for me. I love bodybuilding. I follow the men's bodybuilding. I follow all my friends, my pro colleagues. I follow them. I support them on social media. When I meet them at the shows, I cheer for them just as hard as I cheer for the girls. So I'm Arnold, man, you want to cut half of bodybuilding off? You want to cut not only women's bodybuilding, but also physique, which is not the lightweight version of bodybuilding. Right. You want to cut the whole women's side off?
This is what I have been a little thrown off.
That's not inspiring. He's not. I bought almost all his books. I've been a huge fan.
Yeah.
I am now a disappointed fan.
Yeah. I was talking about the fact he has a son, but he has daughters, and like Andrea was saying, I mean, I'm from Detroit, and before I even had the opportunity to go to an Olympia, I would drive from Detroit in the cold and go to the Miss International, and it was women bodybuilders. So how can you we're the foundation, you know what I mean? And when we think about it, the only women competing women wearing heels. I'm not trying to say anything, but I'm just saying, you just kicked out, first you try to say, oh, well, women bodybuilders were extreme. Well, yes, all sports. When you're the best, what you have to do, you're the extreme. So you really understand that, Arnold. And for you to now, exclude women's physique, I'm like, I think we need some answers.
It is, obviously, that, as I said, it's been an 8-year-old story. Women's bodybuilding has been out of it since 2013 was the last edition. And, the fact that even, the women's bodybuilding division has come back, right? It's coming back and it's strong. We can see that. Is back in the Olympia, and not only that, but it's back in Europe, right? It's back in Canada. And we have this year 18 shows, right? We have 18 shows. And as a matter of fact, it hasn't been brought into the Arnold, because I would have imagined, right, at this point, when you see that it's back, we have the numbers back on stage, everybody's competing, right? We have our, amazing Miss Olympia here, second runner-up Miss Olympia. We have the division is strong, and still it's not back at the Arnold. But not only that, and then we see that the younger sister of women's bodybuilding is cut off this year, right?
And then they added wellness. Right? Is this the first time wellness, or was it last year?
It was last year as well. It was last year. Right? So we have that, and then there's 212, which is, right, as another wrench thrown in the wheel, right? So, we see that it's cut 3 divisions. So I'm wondering, in the end of the day, is it just a financial decision, in the end of the day? But
how do you justify the 212? How do you justify the 212? I mean, okay, even if you say, okay, some of the women's looks are a bit extreme, so, you cut the women's physique, you cut the women's bodybuilding, but why eliminate the 212? That becomes the part of the equation that for me doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, so you think it's
212
money?
is a very strong division. It's basically the little brother of men's open.
Right.
Many of the shows that have 212 there, they are well attended. And again, their numbers, the athletes are always turning out. So, where is there not money to be made? I mean, again, the thing is, the expo happens all 3 days. The shows are always packed. So, I mean, there's not going to be really a loss of revenue, in my opinion.
It must be a personal preference.
It's personal preference,
It must be a personal preference. And I'm just like, I mean, how can you be an advocate for bodybuilding and then pull this number? And I'll tell you a little story. So I met Arnold at Gold's Gym, right? And I was a little pissed, or a lot pissed, because it was taken out of the Arnold and he just never put it back. And so I walked up to him and I said, I'm a great fan. I've bought your books. I was at your book signing, so and so. And he was very, very nice and everything. And I said, there's just one thing, as a professional female bodybuilder, I don't understand why the division was taken out of your show. I really would have liked to compete. And he was like, he downright lied. He said, it wasn't me, it was the IFBB, it was Jim Mannion, it wasn't me, it wasn't my decision. And I'm like, it's his show, so how can it not be his decision? So,
well, and then, there's Jim Mannion has always kept women's bodybuilding even at the level. So if they really were against it, right, why would they have women's bodybuilding at national level shows? There were still plenty of pro shows that still offered women's bodybuilding.
That is an amazing point. That's a great point, Andrea.
It's a lie, And then I go on because I saw him in an interview. I don't know if you guys saw it, but I saw an interview where he said that he thought the women bodybuilders were too masculine.
Okay, so it was in the interview
I
you said
asked
that?
him, so I pulled up a photo shoot photo of myself from Instagram, and I showed it to him, and I said, so I've heard that you think that women's bodybuilding are maybe too masculine to be put on a show. Like, do you think I'm masculine? And I showed him the photo, so I put him on the spot.
And what did he say? I know, Helle.
He said no. He said no, not at all. I don't
Come
think
on,
that.
Helle. He wouldn't have said that in front of you anyway. I want to hear more about your story, but after this commercial break, so hold on. And we're back to FemFlex Friday here with two amazing champions. And we're talking about the missing divisions in the Arnold Classic, women's bodybuilding, women's physique division, and the 212. And I mean, whenever I hear an issue like this is the way I am, I try to put myself in the middle and balance and see what's going wrong and where. So from a promoter's point of view, right, we know that there are different pro shows all over the world. And some promoters choose to have one pro division, 2 or 3, or multiple, right? Because of course, when you have a division, you have to pay a sanction fee to the federation, and this is public knowledge, and it makes sense, right? So the more divisions you add as a promoter in your pro show, the more expensive it gets. So from this perspective, I could understand, but I do believe that Arnold Classic is at the point where it's as important, or, like right after, in the same category of importance for the athlete as the Olympia. So I feel that in that position, Arnold Sports Classic has a responsibility to the athletes and to the world, right? When you eliminate a division, 2, 3 divisions, you make a worldwide statement.
Yes.
And that statement, it is not a positive statement, right?
Right.
From an emotional point of view, how are the athletes supposed to feel, right?
Yeah. And Arnold, I mean, he's not just an athlete and an actor, he was governor. I mean, so to me, as far as like discrimination,
Of course,
without question, to me, it's not about money. It's just
I feel
not.
like it's like if they took the women's division out of Wimbledon, of like women's tennis, that, we won't have it in Wimbledon anymore. Like, that's basically the same.
Yeah, well, it was just really brave of you, Helle, to like speak your mind, walk up to him, and just be really direct. That's
And
who
I
he
mean,
is.
if let's say if it is true
Yeah.
that it really wasn't his decision, right?
Okay.
Maybe there still could have been a conversation about, okay, what did you do to advocate? So, when you look at things like, because this is where I was inspired by Arnold, taking the dance classes, learning the art of the posing. The female divisions now have no representation for like the art form when it comes to our posing routines for the finals, right? A lot of people look forward to that. It's a huge draw to watch, the art in motion, right? Our presentations during the morning are one thing, but again, there's a certain amount of artistry that comes to the stage when we get to perform at night. And now the audience doesn't have that, right? The 212 is not going to be able to do theirs. And obviously no women's physique, no women's bodybuilding. So the only people that are really performing are the men's open. And it's like, okay, where is that, really with the fan experience, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's get back to that part, right? Where's the art and the appreciation of the art?
The men's classic physique.
Okay.
But there is that's a great point, Andrea. There is another equation, like element in the equation, the fact that men's classic physique got their prize money substantially increased.
Oh, yeah.
Which, there's been speculations of the fact that this is how you increase that money that much. You take away the 212, right? And you take away the women's physique division. And then you're going to have a lot more money to give to the men's classic physique, right?
Yeah.
So I do believe that, as you said, you used the word discrimination, and I think that this is not fair. We are all athletes and we all work hard, and we should all be treated, even at least, I understand that there are some financial differences in prices, and I think that a lot of athletes are ready to accept that, but being completely eliminated from not even giving the chance to step on stage and, exhibit the results of your hard work, I think that this is very painful, and I went through that, and it was painful.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very bad message to send. It's a very bad message to
Yeah,
send.
it's a very bad message. I mean, and if he wants to be the premier and second to the Olympia, you have to include everybody.
And I think most athletes, even if the prize money was not as high, right?
Yeah.
I think many of the athletes would still just appreciate the opportunity to come.
I mean, we did see that in the fact that, Sarah Villegas, she actually offered to pay for the whole amount of money for the prizes, just that the Arnold had the division, you know,
Right.
and you know, obviously she was not given this opportunity even, right? So and she made this public, right? She made this post public.
And she also confirmed that she did receive an answer. No, we don't want the money. You know, just kind of like, not necessarily saying mind your own business, but there are other reasons for this. It's not about the money. So they did decline the money.
I think we can conclude it has nothing to do with money.
That's right.
It's the
It does
personal
not.
preference. It's not from a financial standpoint.
Yeah, and I tell you, this is nothing new. We're talking about like 8 years. I can go back to going to the Miss Olympia when it was in New York, and it was just women bodybuilders. We held the Miss Olympia on our own. It was a packed house in New York, packed house. And then they decided to move the Miss Olympia and join the men in Vegas. And then I remember they decreased the prize money, and their answer is, well, the revenue's not coming in. I'm like, wait a minute. No, I was there. And we did just fine. It was a packed house. So don't use that excuse. It's not the money. Yeah.
And it's apparent.
Yes. Yeah.
It is, and you know, as you said, Helle, when you mentioned that Arnold said it was not his decision. I mean, at this point, you know, like we know there are so many Arnold internationals all over the world, right? And I do believe that when you put out a product on the market that has your name, there is no way such a major change would happen without, you know, the name holder agreeing to it, because this is, again, it's a quite of a strong political declaration, right? And
I mean, you know, also the Wings of Strength shows, I mean, no one could come and tell Jake to say, oh, you can't have this or that division in the Olympia, in the Rising Phoenix. Like that won't happen.
Absolutely. And I do like, you know, the way, like your point, Andrea, that, you know, NPC has always been supporting. We have never seen the national shows and all of the the pro qualifiers. They've always been there.
Yep.
Even if the number of the competitors were thinning out at some point because of the lack of support, right, from the number of shows and the promoters, which is an aspect that has been already changed. But indeed, the division has been there at an NPC at a pro qualifier level. So yeah, it is quite sad to see this happening, and I wish I could see it changed, and I wish that you know, Arnold would make Arnold Sports Classic would make room for the 3 divisions, so our whole sport is fully represented in such a prestigious event.
Yeah. If we don't support each other, I mean, hey. Like, we have to stick together, and this is why we're having this conversation, and the courage to speak up and say, Arnold, look, I mean, when we talk about bodybuilding, the world knows Arnold. You know, the world knows Arnold. And so we just want the same love.
I was hoping to have a dialogue with him, you know, about it, but, you know, he just kind of dismissed it, that it wasn't him. Like, I mean, not taking accountability is the kind of the easiest things to do. So that wasn't much of a conversation, but I wanted to open up the conversation because, I mean, I love my sport, and you know, I want to fight for it. I want to be a good ambassador. I want to, you know, be able to just spread it out, you know, like we need to be at every show, like and we need to support each other. Like you said, Linda, I mean, bodybuilding is a small sport, and it doesn't matter if you say it's men or women. It's like compared to the NFL and, you know, other sports, it's a small niche sport. And if we don't really support each other and stick together, we're not going to thrive. We have to be a team. And I don't get that. Arnold, he doesn't see that.
I love the idea of supporting each other within our own division and within the sport, you know, athletes among divisions, because, you know, once you established a division and you created an identity for those athletes, you created a bikini identity, the wellness identity. That is a type of athlete that exists, right? So once you have created that, you cannot just cut it off and abandon. So I do see that. I would support any of these divisions, you know. So obviously, another point that I wanted to bring is that Arnold International was very close to my heart because that's what I did my pro debut. That was the first show ever I did in the United States. So that has a special memory for me. So, being taken away and now seeing not only that my division hasn't been put back, right, but that it's creating, it keeps on making other things that are not ethical, I would say, or not fair, keeps on doing it among other divisions.
Yes.
So it kind of like hurts my heart. Where is Arnold Sports Classing heading to,
Yeah, absolutely.
That is the question.
Yeah.
But if they decide to maybe come to the table, I think Helle and I both would be in agreement that we would be the first two, if not amongst the first few, that would be sending in our request for an invitation right away. Because again, he has represented the sport. No one can ever take that away from him. But I think that there's more advocacy that can be done. But if they ever bring it back, guaranteed, we'll be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll say this, Arnold, you can still redeem yourself.
Yes, that's right, Arnold. You can still redeem yourself. And we're going to take a short break and return and find out what our two best in the world competitors, Miss Olympia, Helle Trevino, and our current Miss Olympia, Andrea Shaw, when we return.
People always ask how I got here. I was willing to work just a little harder than everyone else, every damn day. If I can have hundreds of hours back, I'm gonna grab them. Spending hours prepping chicken, rice, and vegetables, F that. I rely on perfect nutrition. I rely on trifecta.
And we're here in our FemFlex studio with Helle Trevino and Andrea Shaw. Ladies, we want to know what's happening now in your world. We are in the beginning of 2022. Helle, I know there's a lot happening right now with you, right? Where are you and what are you doing?
I'm in Mexico.
Yay!
As you can see, there's an arm thing going on.
What's
here.
happening there?
And I've been pretty active on social media. I just wanted to let the fans know what's going on. I've had a big surgery, a 3-hour surgery on January 27th. I tore 2 tendons after a workout, my bicep tendon and the supraspinatus. And you've been there, Alina. You have to have it fixed now, like
very
the sooner
fast.
the better.
Yeah.
So I had it done within a week, and I decided to have it done down here because there's a really very good, well-known sports surgeon here that works with the Mexican MMA team. He has many athletes flying in from the States who to seek his expertise. So I felt like, time was pressing, and I felt like he was a good option. So I've decided to stay down here probably for 3 months for my rehabilitation. He's working also with all the therapists for the MMA team. So, I have the best physiotherapists that I used to working with all the athletes. So right now I'm in physiotherapy 3 times a week. The healing is pretty long.
So you said you tore 2 tendons, right? Which one is the second?
The supraspinatus and the bicep tendon.
Oh, both, okay.
Yeah, so I had surgery here on the side, an arthroscopic surgery, and then in the front he couldn't do arthroscopic surgery because the tendon had fallen down. So he had to
it always goes down.
To pull it up.
How did you do that? What happened?
I had an existing injury already. I struggled all year, last year, during the prep with the shoulder injury. I think it was partially torn. And then after a workout, I was stretching and it just said pop. Like I heard it. The funny thing was it didn't even hurt. It just said the pop, and it was kind of like I've had a lot of tightness going from my forearm all the way up in my shoulder, and the tightness was gone. And I was like, oh, I think something fell into place. I thought it got better, you know?
Wow.
And I went home and there was no bruising or anything. So I thought, oh, if you tear something, it would be bruised. So I was like, it's probably good. But then it started swelling. And I thought maybe I tore like a little fiber or something, you know? So the next day I went to the physiotherapist and she was like, I think it's torn. You might want to go to an ultrasound. So I went to the ultrasound the next day.
Yeah.
And then the doctor said, it's torn, but there was still only talk about one tendon. Then I met that doctor. I actually already had met him at the gym. And he had said, let's set up a consultation on Tuesday. So Friday I got the ultrasound, showed it to him in the gym. He booked an MRI for me on Monday. And then I went to his consultation on Tuesday, and he was like, you have 2 torn tendons.
Wow.
We have to do the surgery Thursday, and tomorrow you have to go for the pre-op package.
Well,
you know,
that is quite fortunate that, you know, they have seen it and that they could fix it. And how is your recovery right now? And when can you start training hard again?
Well, the recovery is quite long, so I won't be able to touch a weight before July.
Wow.
Wow, that's,
Nothing?
And then when I start in July, it's going to be really slow. What's happening is that it has been repaired, but what they do is they've drilled some holes here and here in the bone. They pull up the tendon and they anchor it with a screw. But that screw won't hold the tendon. The tendon has to grow into the bone. That's what makes it hold.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right now I can still re-tear it, or it can like be pulled out of the screw. So it's important that I keep it absolutely still. I have like very light movement at the physiotherapist, like just a little like dangling with the arm and stuff to just keep it from becoming stiff. But I don't think I'll be able to compete this year.
You think
it's a little
so?
bit
You
sad
think you
news,
won't?
but just looking at the time frame, July, August, September, October, I got 4 months until the Rising Phoenix. In those 4 months, I have to gain the size back that I've lost not training all year. I have to make improvements, and I have to diet down to 6% body fat, all in 4 months. And you've got to consider when I start training in July, it's going to be with bands and 2 pounds. I have to work my way up in weight to strengthen the tendon, because tendons are slower to get strong than muscles are.
Exactly.
So just time-wise, even though it's early in the year, because it takes such a long time, it's gonna, I don't want to be on stage nothing less than my best. And I don't want to push it, jeopardize my health, have to have a re-surgery, and maybe be on the Olympia stage, like getting a 10th place,
That's a
and
wise.
I hope all the athletes out there hear
decision.
that it takes courage to make that decision.
Patience.
Yep.
Right.
And we just have to be smart in what we're doing.
I mean, if it's possible, yes, but realistically, I don't really see that 4 months is realistic. I mean, if I have a miraculous recovery or something, but tendons take the time tendons take to grow. So I'm like wrapping my head around and preparing myself that this year I'll just be doing something else. I really want to.
I think it is good. You learn so much during these times of reflection, and just a chance to be quiet and at peace, and you have been so consistent, Helle, competing.
I mean, I've been competing every year since 2011.
Right.
Yes. So, I'll still be around all year. Like you were, Alina, when you were out with an injury. You also didn't compete the same year when you had your...
Yeah, it was impossible.
I mean, things take time, and I really want to also be a motivation for this. I mean, I've discovered through posting on Instagram how many people have these issues, just injuries, tendon tears. I've had
the
at
time.
least 10 people with tendon tears reach out to me, also pros that, have, shoulder, bicep, one hand in the hand. It takes time. Like, don't rush it. Like, just because you don't compete 1 year, it's not gonna.
That's right. It's not the end of the world. That's right.
That is a very, very wise approach, Helle, and I commend you for that. And I want to hear about Andrea's plans for the year.
Well, I am going to be supporting Helle because I know she's going to come back super, super fierce after having a time off. So I'm going to miss you, girl. But other than that, hey, I'm looking to get started on, helping out with the local shows. So we've gotten our Michigan NPC schedule out. I've already started helping my coach with the details with his show, on lining up guest posing. I got signed with Mutant, so I'm going to be actually at the Arnold Expo.
Yeah.
So this will be my first experience actually at the Arnold Expo.
Okay.
So I'm definitely seeing where, again, like always, my schedule is picking up because I'm always going to support the NPC and the IFBB when it comes to shows. But that's. I mean, my training is steady. But I haven't gotten into, any really hard or intense training. I'm just kind of really enjoying, but we get a real off season this year. And I'm so excited because we had a shorter season last year with the Olympia being in December. So, things kind of got moved up. So now that we have a longer break, I am pacing myself. So I'm really wanting to take time to, reconnect with family, with friends. To, just enjoy some of the lighter sides of training, like group classes and just still being active, but not, all in, give it all you got because you're going to get on stage kind of workouts. So that's kind of where I'm at, and hopefully we'll get our Wings of Strength schedule going soon. So I'll know exactly where I'll be. But that's it. But prep for me starts in August. And once August comes, then I know, it's all business.
It's all business. That's right. But girl, you gotta tell me, how do you like that Corvette? Come on, when I got mine, I fell in love. I'm the biggest time, a Corvette fan. I cannot picture myself without a Corvette ever in my life.
That's right.
And
So
I
how do
actually
you
get
like
more
that
compliments in the Corvette than I do the Camaro. So I mean,
she in
it's
the Motor
definitely
City.
it's grown to be my favorite.
got
The Camaro
two
still is
sports
special,
cars.
but the Corvette is my
So
favorite.
what are you gonna do with them? It looks like you keep on accumulating these sport cars. What are you gonna do with them? Do you have
I'm gonna build a
enough
fleet.
space? What's that?
Have you been
I'll
able
build a
to?
fleet.
Have you been able to open it up? I know the weather's been pretty good. We had some snow in Detroit a couple of days. Have you been
We did.
Yeah.
But I got a chance to open it up a touch, just a touch.
That's cute.
Oh
I
yeah,
love it.
it's cold here, but
Right.
the draw to get in. I mean, when you look at it, you gotta get in, right?
Yeah.
When you get in, you gotta, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Great.
That's right.
And you with the Hellcat. I always think about that, the Hellcat, right? Is that what you call it, Helle?
That's how I feel. I feel the same about my Hellcat. It's a special car for me too. When you win a car, it's your trophy.
Yes, exactly.
The Hellcat is super fast.
It is a
with its
trophy.
800 horsepower. So. I've gotten a few speeding tickets, but it's okay. It's worth it.
I believe it.
It's worth it.
I remember Alina got one too.
Yeah, but not in a Corvette.
She got out of it.
It was a pathetic fine I got driving a Kia or something.
But remember, you got out of one. Remember,
I got out of the one in the Corvette, yeah.
Yeah.
You charmed one of the officers, remember? Was it Vegas or something? You got a ticket and you charmed yourself out of it.
I did, yeah. Sometimes when the title is written in the back, the police officers might be a little bit more lenient with you, you know?
But those cars scream speeding ticket.
Well, that's where, you have to pick and choose, just pick and choose.
That's right. Well, ladies, it's been an amazing time with you here. Thank you for sharing your plans and for being here to discuss with us this important matter of the day, I would say. And we're looking forward to seeing you down the road this season, both of you. Happy.
We'll be at the shows.
Yes, definitely. We're going to be happy to see you. And I wish you a very speedy recovery, Helle.
Thank you.
And a good prep, Andrea, and have time at Arnold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. And see you guys at our next episode of FemFlex Friday. Bye.